Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning sexuality podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the USA and worldwide. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last episode, I kicked off my kink series with an interview featuring Maeve McBride, the artistic director of Kinkfest. We explored the fundamentals of BDSM and took the spicier, in-depth conversation over to Patreon. It was a fun, informative, and sex-positive start to the series, and I encourage you to go back and listen if you've ever identified as kinky or been curious about BDSM culture. Today I'm bringing you spicy, dark romance novelist Bria Rose, who reimagines classic fairy tales with deeper, trauma-informed narratives and boldly darker, more complex characters. Her unique storytelling style and seductive, immersive world building make her books irresistible, and this conversation's one you won't want to miss. Huge thanks to everyone who's rated, reviewed, and shared Please Me. Because of you, we're now the #1 sexuality podcast in the world. Your support amplifies vital conversations about pleasure, healing, and sexual empowerment. Keep the momentum going, leave a review, share your favorite episode, and help us reach even more listeners. This week, I'm shouting out 5 amazing countries where Please Me hit #1. Czech Republic, Croatia, Indonesia, Slovenia, and Slovakia. Thank you for tuning in and turning up the volume on pleasure. I'm also raising funds for survivors of the recent catastrophic typhoon in the Philippines, which struck just weeks after devastating 6.9 magnitude earthquake hit the same region. Please check the show notes for the donation link. Any support you can give is truly appreciated. Want to ask me a question for the Please Me podcast? Join the conversation on Patreon or subscribe to my Substack newsletter. Both communities give you access to exclusive content, updates, and a chance to have your questions featured on the show. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
So, as we all know, Disney is a huge corporation, and I actually got the privilege of working there for about 7 years. I am a huge Disney fan, hence my last name Rose. I have Disney tattoos. My life really revolves around Disney, and so I definitely was a child of Disney, and now I've turned into this Disney adult.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday Game Day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup Group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday Game Day, only on Prime.
This episode is brought to you by Blink. Blink Friday starts now with up to 65% off Blink Smart Security. Check on your pets all season long with new Blink Mini 2K Plus cameras. See your gifts arrive in head-to-toe view with Blink Video Doorbell. Ready to use right out of the box. Just unwrap Blink and go. From pet parents to jet setters to busy families, Blink Friday deals have your holidays covered. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Say hello to the all-new Alexa Plus and see how Alexa can do so much more for you. Need tickets to see your favorite artist? Craving your comfort restaurant? Just sit back, relax, and talk naturally. Alexa's on it. It learns your style, anticipates what's next, and makes it happen across Echo, Fire TV, and more. Learn more at amazon.com/new Alexa.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Bria Rose to the show. She is a dark romance novelist that writes fairy tale retellings. And with that being said, I want to welcome you to Please Me. How are you today, Bria?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to know specifically about what you mean by fairy tale retellings, because that's going to sort of, shape our conversation here today.
So, as we all know, Disney is a huge corporation, and I actually got the privilege of working there for about 7 years. I am a huge Disney fan, hence my last name, Rose. I have Disney tattoos. My life really revolves around Disney. And so I definitely was a child of Disney, and now I've turned into this Disney adult that a lot of people like to, make jabs at a little bit. But I've kind of turned it into this thing where during 2020, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I have a couple of degrees. And for whatever reason, I got bit by the writing bug, and I wrote my book, Her Dark Promise, and it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And then I thought, what am I going to do next? And I just kept thinking, let's just write more fairy tales. So I'm kind of in the realm of reinventing our beloved Disney stories, our beloved, Grimm brothers. I really try to bring, outside perspective on like different situations, but we're just kind of aging everybody up and making it more adult and spicy.
Yeah, so let's talk about your most recent book, the Beauty and the Beast retelling called Dark Promise, right? That's Her Dark Promise.
Her Dark Promise.
Yes. Tell me what the inspiration was for this particular story.
So I was actually in the shower one day. I just got done reading a book, another Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I'm like, so I'm in the shower, and that's when inspiration struck. And I called my friend while I was in the shower, and because I just couldn't wait. I'm like, I have the ballroom scene idea. I think this is going to be a thing. I actually have the book here. So this is what it turned into. So that idea in the shower turned into this beautiful book of mine. And the inspiration for it, of course, was that book just kind of really helping me to imagine what I would like to do for my own reimagining of Beauty and the Beast. So I changed it. I gender bent it. So in my book, Belle is the Beast. Beast and Gaston are brothers, get trapped in her castle.
Okay. And the beauty is, and is she like hideous like the Beast, or is she like beautiful and she's just a beastly personality?
So that's a wonderful question. A lot of people go that way. She's either ugly and it's all about, or society is ugly, of course, with maybe scars, or, she maybe is burned. Something does not make her the society standard of beauty, especially in Beauty and the Beast. I didn't really want to go that way. There's a lot of films like that out there. And that wasn't what I wanted to do. She is beautiful, but what makes her beastly, it's her trauma. So what she went through, and being deceived and betrayed and being riddled with guilt and anger and feminine rage. This girl's angry, but she's also sexy, and she's kind of funny, and she has an addiction. There's so many layers to her. So again, it's her trauma that makes her act beastly. When people threaten her and threaten the people that are in her castle that she has vowed to protect, even though she swears that she's emotionless and she doesn't deserve anything, She's vowed to protect a couple people in her castle. And when people threaten that, she is not very happy about that. So it's just, again, her trauma.
I love that trauma is what makes her a beast, because really, when you look at everybody's stuff, right? Trauma is really what makes us have a difficult time having relationships if you don't deal with the trauma that you've experienced. And we all have some kind of baggage in our past, right? And so I think that is a really interesting take on being beastly, because through healing from trauma, you can become a better person. And I'm assuming that that's what happens to her. Tell me about you. Do you have a history of trauma, and why would you go in that direction?
Yeah, there are some things in my past that I definitely maybe pulled from in order to kind of put my mind in certain situations. I'm not saying every trauma in the book is my trauma, because it's not, but I, kind of know what it feels to be abandoned by certain people in my past, or, so there's a lot of feelings there. I felt that I was really able to dig deep down and get to those, but there are traumas that I wanted to make sure I did justice, and I did research, and I took the time to make sure that I took care of those situations, because, certain things need certain kind of hand holding. And this is a dark romance, so there is spice with some trauma. I think that writing this book originally, I don't think I expected to go as deep as I did. And I still think I probably could have gone deeper. I just definitely, that just wasn't the direction I was going in. But I think the whole trauma thing, and it kind of came not out of left field, but it just kept growing. And now I'm writing other books, and I find myself, I am doing nothing but researching into mental health. I'm writing a character in another book that has ASPD. For those who don't know, this antisocial personality disorder. And what does that look like? What do emotions look like for them? What does a day-to-day, so it's just a lot of research, and I'm thoroughly enjoying really diving into these characters, with these different mental health, I don't want to say issues, but these
challenges,
different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I love the idea of retelling stories that have already been told. And I had another guest on this show that does a podcast called Sex Ed with DB. And she also started another podcast called Rom-Com Vom. And basically the preface of the Rom-Com Vom, and I think you might really enjoy this podcast, is that she retells 80s and 90s rom-coms with a guest. So they basically watch the movie on their own, and then they come together and talk about all of the negative things, like societal, like tropes and negative things that are in the story. And then they verbally on the show retell it so that it would be a better story, basically, with women's empowerment in mind, and, not fat shaming every other character that has, a weight issue. I mean, there's just so many things that we see in rom-coms that are, always who's always the butt of the joke? Why are they always making jokes about gay people when it actually has nothing to do with the storyline? So it was a very interesting concept of retelling the story. And I love that Disney specifically inspired you, because you worked at Disney. Are you in Florida, Disney Florida, or Disney California?
I was in California.
Okay. So I have a very good friend of mine who is a Disney adult as well. She does marathons, and they do a lot of marathons at Disney. So she does all of the marathons. So she's always at Disney doing another marathon and always taking pictures with all of the, princesses and all of that. And she's just a Disney-aholic. So how has Disney specifically shaped the way that you blend innocence And I'm going to say sin, that's the word that you used, or light and dark in your stories. And, I will preface this by saying that like there's no shame in sexuality. And so I just want to like say that before you answer your question, because the word sin like bothers me a little bit but maybe you mean it in a different way. So I would love for you to explain.
Yeah. I mean, I also believe that, a lot of my characters are very sexually active. They're very proud of their sexuality. I hate the main characters in books where they're very meek. Maybe they're virgins. They start out and they've only been with one guy, when that's like their value. With men, alpha male, like, no, you have to be a virgin. No, you don't, so I guess when I wrote, I don't even remember writing sin. So it wasn't that. It was just more, I feel like what people in general consider innocence, and I guess what's what's not. So that's not a personal belief. That I think that's just more outside society beliefs. I've actually watched quite a few of this woman on TikTok, how she talks about, does body count matter? And a lot of people come on, a lot of men come on like, yeah, it does, because you're valuing, you're less valuable, and yada, yada, yada. So I do want to say, I did want to get it out there that I don't think that owning your sexuality is a sin, but how Disney has shaped my kind of writing, like innocence and, non-innocence, kind of going back to what we were talking about before with, our trauma is kind of what makes us act beastly. Our trauma is what creates what people would call villains. So I think a great example of this would be Maleficent. And I like bringing Maleficent in because a lot of the Disney movies has, we have good versus evil. Evil is always bad. And, you have to kill the person in order to get rid of that bad. And then everything's going to be fine and dandy. We're going to go back to sunshine and rainbows and honey. So, it's just all this really positive stuff. Like, yes, the hero vanquished the villain, but how did the villain get that way? The villain didn't just grow up that way, So Maleficent the movie was brilliant to showcase how, her story and where that came from, and realizing we don't always have to kill the villain in order to vanquish the villain. Stories are more complex, stories are deep. And when you look back at the history of Disney, yes, sure, they're made for kids, but not really. There's a lot of adult themes that happen. I'm currently writing a Pinocchio story, and that movie is dark. That movie is pretty dark, so Disney does handle some pretty heavy themes, from, parents dying, abandonment. There's just a whole bunch of things. So I just wanted to take it a step further and really highlight what it is and the magic that these Disney movies have brought to a lot of, millions of people around the world. But look at it in a more adult lens, bring more, sex into it. So I guess the innocence would kind of be like my innocence of being, I always say like a child of Disney, growing up loving Disney and loving those stories, but also realizing that, I've had experiences. I know people who've gone through trauma, and kind of writing it for the Disney adults who like a little bit of a darker story.
Yeah, I love this. So you just mentioned another book that you're working on with Pinocchio. And I would love for you to give me some more information about that, because you're right. The story of Pinocchio is very dark. It's this little boy. He's like, sequestered by this man. It can be like if you really look at like the details of that story, it can be very dark. And then when he lies, his nose grows. And for me, like, I just think of that as like a phallic symbol, And so I would love to know a little bit more in detail, what other stories you're working on. And if you could give us a little bit more details about this particular book that you're working on.
Yeah, so Pinocchio is fun. My editor and I are kind of in this limbo of really making sure that we do it justice, because it is going to be a lot darker than Her Dark Promise. I did give a lot of people trauma in Her Dark Promise, but Pinocchio, overall, my story is he is a sex doll who gets sold to a high-profile couple. Now we're talking about, kind of like, not slave trade, but like human trafficking. And kind of slave because the dolls, you can do whatever you want with them. So there's a lot of going to be abuse in it. And it's, so I have to kind of tread carefully, but while we do have that darker side to it, I also wanted to make sure that I want to make this book kink positive. I want a healthy throuple situation. So it's really balancing this man, because I did age everybody up. No one is a child. I'm not touching any part of that. We're already dealing with heavy themes. So I've aged everybody up. We have, a magical world with fairies and humans, and there's secret society secrets. There is going to be like definitely a high society, like orgy hall, so it's going to be very sexual. I don't want to ick anyone's yum, as long as it's not hurting anybody. And as long as it's not, as long as it's able for both consenting parties. Now, again, there will be some darker stuff, but that's Pinocchio. I'm also working on a Klaus and Caroline themed book. So from Vampire Diaries. And then I do have an original book. And then and one more. There's so many books I'm trying to write at the same time. I have a book that I'm writing for One More Chapter. I am a contracted writer for them. For those who don't know, they are part of HarperCollins. They're just like a division of it. And I can't talk about exactly what it is, but what I can say, that is the one that has the morally gray golden retriever male with ASPD. So he's very like, I love you, but I'll kill anybody who touches you kind of vibes. And she's Black Cat. She's like, I don't even know you. So we have those two energies. It's once I'm able to talk about it, which I'm so excited, but hopefully that'll be out early next spring.
Okay, I love that. And I want to go back to the Pinocchio one because this one fascinates me the most.
Yeah.
The healthy throuple that you're talking about the couple that the Pinocchio was sold to, and Pinocchio is part of the throuple?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And then is you said it's a sex doll. So is it like alive, or is it like, well, Pinocchio is kind of alive, right? But he's like a puppet. So I'm like trying to envision this here. So
yeah, no, it's such a unique concept. So I kind of also drew inspiration from like robot stories that we have, movies and everything that, with AI, but it's not anything like that. It's not AI, it's magic.
Okay.
So he is a full-blown human. Yeah. So full-blown human skin, he's just a doll. He is created for them. He is molded into the image of whatever they want him to be. And a lot of people buy these dolls to mistreat and to use. Because again, sex doll. So that's why we have to make sure it's, we walk this fine line. But Pinocchio is being coached by his maker, Giuseppe, which is Geppetto. And, Geppetto is just like, hey, based off of everybody else who's bought these dolls, like, you're going to be a doll, you're going to obey, you are made to obey them. Whatever they want, you're going to do. That is your job. I don't care what they say. Don't, bring me a bad name because everything's word of mouth. And, just kind of preparing him like, hey, if something hurts, don't complain.
He's a sex doll maker. Yeah, so he's a sex doll maker. Got it. Yeah. Okay, that sounds so interesting. I love it.
Yeah. And so he is conditioned to, to do one thing, and then he gets to the couple, and the couple's like, okay, we just want to love you. And Pinocchio's like, whoa, I wasn't okay. And he has all these really nice experiences, and he's experiencing sex for the first time. And, because he just woke up for the first time, and he's having all these really amazing new experiences. Then he ends up going to the pleasure hall run by the Blue Fairy, and he starts to see exactly what the world of like sex dolls means for dolls who aren't so lucky. And it turns into, not to give anything away, but because it is on the back cover, it is in my blurb. So then we kind of start getting some secrets coming out and some truths are coming out. And so now Pinocchio kind of has to decide, am I, gonna still love this couple now that I know this big secret? Turns out there's a man called the Whale who wants to punish doll makers and doll purchasers. And so there's a big thing with that. And it's kind of like now a Hunger Games situation where the dolls kind of go crazy on their makers. And, so now it's turning into kind of like a bloodbath. And Pinocchio's like, I got to save my people. I love them, but do I, because of the secret that happened? So there's a lot going on with this story. And I just taking the time to make sure that it's done appropriately.
Okay, fantastic. That's going to be a good one.
It's a lot.
And I definitely want to read her Dark Promise too. You got to send me a copy of that for sure. So, you grew up as a Disney kid and now you are, talking about some really sensual and sexual and taboo spaces. What made you sort of interested in going into like the darker side?
I think I've always been interested in that because I actually started writing a book with an ex-friend of mine. I just recently, she gave me the rights to all of it. So one day, hopefully in the next year, I'll be able to bring those characters to life, eventually. But when I was writing it with her and saying, okay, what are ideas here? And I started going one way. She's like, oh, no, that's too dark. Oh, no, we can't really do that. So I was kind of fighting what I really wanted to write and her YA, what she wanted to write. And that started in high school. And so I think I've always been drawn to these darker things. It probably started when, oh gosh, what is the movie? Because a lot of people on social media say, oh, this is when my dark romance phase started coming out. And gosh, I can't think what the movie is right now. It is one of those I'm like, oh, I get it. Or like when you watch Peter Pan and you're like, oh, Peter Pan's cute, but Captain Hook, So it's kind of like being drawn to certain characters and certain stories.
The villains,
and I think
yes.
It's always, I think, been a part of me.
I think a lot of the vampire stories too are like that, where you're like, ooh, they're dangerous, but they're kind of hot too, like.
Oh yeah.
Like, would I let him kiss my neck? There's an element of danger. Yeah.
True Blood. Don't get me started.
I don't know that one. What's that one about? Is that a vampire one too?
Oh my gosh, you should totally watch it. It's probably cringy, with like the now, but it is so sexy. It's vampires, and I think there's wolves in there. You'll love it. It's a very grown-up Twilight and Vampire Diaries. It's okay. Very, very sexy and sexual. I mean, it shows a lot.
All right,
good
I'll have to find out where I can watch that.
Yeah.
True Blood.
Please.
Okay.
True
Put
Blood.
it on my list. I need a new show. What does power mean to you in love, in sex, and in storytelling?
I think that women, for centuries, our power has been taken away, suppressed, in different forms. We are baby makers, baby machines. That's all we're good for. There's just so many oppressive things when it comes to women, when really we are the bearers of new life. Our bodies create an entire person. And I don't think we get enough credit for it. And everyone says, oh, well, it starts with like Adam and Eve ate. I'm like, stop it. Stop blaming women. I'm over this. Let's allow women to take back their power in, I was talking earlier about, I watch a podcast about like, does body count matter? No, it doesn't, because what I did before you doesn't, affect, as long as I'm safe and good to go, it doesn't matter. I mean, certain things, and that's just strictly body count, right? I wasn't, sorry, I feel like I'm going on different tangents. There's so many things. It's such a big topic. I feel like I could talk an hour on this, but kind of going back to the point of power, sexuality is powerful. Orgasms, I believe, are powerful. They they help people be connected to each other. And I think that taking your power back sexually and being able to communicate appropriately, saying, hey, I didn't really like that. Can we please kind of do this? Oh, and just being able to take back some of your power, because, sex has always been, medieval times, it was just an act to have kids or just to get your husband off, but there's no pleasure involved. Back in the day, when women were being a little crazy, doctors would go in and finger them, and, it would get women off and we'd calm down, so it's, I just learned about that recently. Like, oh, whoa.
It's how the vibrator was invented. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I just, overall, I feel as though women taking back their power sexually specifically is just one of the ways we can take back our power. My characters in my books take back their power forcefully, not sexually, but just, no, I'm not going to allow you to talk to me. That was really rude. You don't need to be in my space anymore. Taking back your power sexually could be like, hey, again, I don't like that. Can you please do this? In a communicative, non-aggressive way. There should be a conversation. Taking back your power is also putting up boundaries and saying, hey, honey, I don't like when you yell at me when we communicate. Communicating and getting angry, there's really no reason for that, because, and then you're gaslighting me. So I just feel like taking back your power comes in a lot of different ways. And that's what I really try to emulate through my book, where, maybe some of the power is being taken from the main character. Maybe she starts off as weaker or less boundaries. I do weaker because I don't mean that. I just don't know how else to put it. I don't know how else to put it, but they find their power and their strength as the story progresses. So I try to have a good mix of, character flaws and power, no power dynamics.
I love that. And I love talking about women taking that power. And I talk about getting on the road to sexual liberation, often, so that people can really, hone those skills that they need to sort of enjoy their sex lives more. And also I love talking about big clit energy, which is the confidence that you have in your sexuality. And so all of this is sort of like hand in hand with like my messaging too. So I love that you create characters that are doing the things that I'm talking about. So that's a beautiful thing. I think at this point, I would love to, let's do one more question and then we're going to jump into our role play. So how do you define a happy ending when your stories dwell a lot on the darker side of love?
I feel as though so in the book world, we call them HEAs, or happily ever afters.
Yes.
Now, happily ever after in Disney is villain is vanquished, the heroes and their love interest ride off into the sunset and everything is fine and dandy. Happily ever afters and normal books, not just Disney, kind of goes along the same way. We don't like vanquish the evil, but maybe we vanquish whatever sticky situation we were in, whether that is family drama, kind of getting away from that or whatever, an ex comes, a lot of contemporary has like second chance romances. Someone's escaping from a really bad relationship. They find a healthy one, but the other guy comes back, so kind of that person goes to jail or there's a big blow up and then happily ever after. Now in the dark romance realm, I feel as though there's a lot of wiggle room in what exactly is a happily ever after. For a lot of people, it's your main character in general gets to be happy with their love interest or with their family, their found family or whatever it is. There is probably going to be some deaths. There's going to probably be, along the way, different types of situations where it does not fare well or bode well for them. Not everyone is going to make it. And so to me, it's more of, what does happily ever after mean to you? Does that mean they get a sliver of some kind of happy ending? Maybe it wasn't what they envisioned, but it's the best they could get. Maybe a big, huge war happens and, their loved one dies, but her daughter lives, or, you know, so it's kind of like a push and pull situation. So with me, it's all about telling the story authentically the way that I believe that it needs to be told, and also telling the story in a way that's not gonna make people upset. You know, like Divergent is a great example. The end of the books, I mean, can I do a spoiler for Divergent to have an example?
Is that one of your books?
No. This is a book that came out probably over 10 years ago.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
It's out. Yeah.
Okay. It's out. Okay, so Divergent, basically, this girl, it is definitely a world that is like a futuristic world.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through her journey, and we want her to be in love with this guy named Four. And it's her journey of, you know, losing some people, losing her parents, you know, her brother is a shit show cretin. And when we get to the end, we finally have it to where she's about to get her happily ever after. She's making plans with her man, and everyone decided this is how it's going to go. They are going to sacrifice her brother because, again, he's a cretin for a reason, okay? But at the very last second, she's like, I can't do that, and she sacrifices herself. Nobody's happy. That wasn't No, like I am so upset even to this day, and I read that years ago. So I don't want I'm very upset by it. So I don't want people to leave with those feelings in my book unless that was the point. Unless I have a movie like Me Before You, where the guy, you know, is like, he's really sick. Have you watched Me Before You?
No.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's a tearjerker, and it's one of those where at the very end, he makes a decision, and it blows everybody away because she's like, I don't want to ruin it, but the whole point is I want to create these stories to not really make people mad, but also tell it the way it's meant to be played out. And I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yes, it does. And, you know, you talked about, you know, the story, Her Dark Promise, and having trauma in their history. And maybe it's not the happy ending that you expect where the person stays with that person, but maybe if they realize that that person isn't right for them and they have some healing, that can be a happy ending, but they're not with the person. So I can see how that can, you know, play out. And it's, you know, not everybody has to be in a relationship, you know, and I love when we kind of dig into that a little bit, because there's been books written about how women actually do better outside of relationships, you know, and we are healthier outside of relationships, especially if the relationship is unhealthy. We literally give years of our life to the other person to improve their life, but our lives are not improved. And so I love when people are looking at, you know, these things and putting them in a story form that, you know, we can all read and like take away from as, you know, reality, because the reality is that that's not always a happily ever after, you know, the princess doesn't always ride off with the knight, you know. Exactly. So with that being said, I would love to jump into our role play. And this season we're doing a role play about the ick, right? And so you talked to me about something that is an ick for you. And so we are going to pretend that we are, you know, two girlfriends going out to, you know, a bar, and we're talking about like our lives and etc. And any questions before we get started?
No, I'm excited and a little nervous.
Okay. All right. No, role plays are always so fun. Just go off the top of your head. Okay. So we're going to start now. And action.
If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medication, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PLEASEME for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PLEASEME, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PLEASEME. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you have a man that spends hours in the gym, heads into the office early, or is just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has their back. Head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
This episode is brought to you by eBay. Buying parts for your car? You'll know that will it work feeling. But on eBay, buying parts is different. eBay's free returns means if it doesn't fit, or if it isn't what you expected, you just print a label, drop it off, and get your refund fast. No haggling, no stress, and at least 30 days to return any eligible item. Millions of parts, free returns. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du Norsk?
If you used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world, with lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers. Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Spotify. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hi, Bria. So nice to see you. I'm so excited to catch up with you. It's been a while.
Oh, girl, I have so much to tell you about.
Oh my God, let's order some margaritas and I want you to dish. Tell me all about what's been going on in your life.
Perfect. I need one because I have a couple questions for you. I have a boyfriend and we had talked about wanting to be healthy, when we got together. We, really wanted to make health a big part of our journey, maybe like after dinner, go on walks. But recently, something, happened in his life and he hasn't really been taking care of himself. And I've kind of tried to be supportive and encourage him to hey, let's go on a little walk or, and he just doesn't want to. And I've noticed that he is his health is declining and not just, the weight department, but also he's not really taking showers. So I don't really know what to do anymore.
Okay. So he's not taking care of his hygiene either, which
mm-hmm.
in and of itself can be an ick, right?
Yeah.
Someone that doesn't have good hygiene. I mean, I'm not even going to say what I was just thinking about saying, but yeah, absolutely. So, have you addressed any of your concerns with him? Have you said anything to him about the hygiene portion of it, at least?
I have tried to be really nice because I do feel that I don't want to hurt his feelings and I want to tread carefully. And I definitely want to do this in a way that's not going to have him retreat back, even more away from me. So I brought it up slightly, but it is affecting, my daily habits. He's bringing in McDonald's and Taco Bell all the time. And, I've grown up, I'm currently on a health journey. As I've lost over 100 pounds and
wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And, health is really important. Cheat days and cheat meals, they can happen, but I just don't want to go back to the person that I once was. And I was really excited to be with him originally because, we were health conscious and, maybe stuck to better eating habits during the week so that we can maybe binge a little bit on the weekend. There's really good balance, but right now there's no balance.
Okay. And have you found that he's like kind of pulling you back into your old habits at all? Have you broken down or are you still staying strong?
No, I've definitely kind of gone back into old habits because it's kind of like no, it is. It's putting a cake in front of me and saying, okay, well, you can't have this. Well, I like cake. So it's just not fair. Like it's going to, like, I can be normal in normal situations, but if it's always in my house and I'm hungry and I want a snack, I'm probably not going to reach for a cucumber salad. I'm probably going to reach for the bag of chips that's right next to the bed.
Yeah, that's a big concern because if you've lost 100 pounds and you were very specific about being on a health journey with your partner and suddenly he's fallen off the wagon and now he's like bringing you down and you've made such progress, yeah, I wouldn't want to be around that either, right? But then you also have to be conscientious of the fact that, when people are depressed, oftentimes, they will fall off the wagon. And also, hygiene could also be something that kind of goes away as well. So is he seeking help at all? Have you spoken to him about maybe going to therapy or getting help?
Yes, I did offer because I think therapy is amazing. It has done wonders for me. And I think because he's so in the depression mode that he's just kind of like, I don't want anyone's help. I don't want to talk about this with anybody. But I also promised myself that I just, I want to be supportive to my partner, but I also, made a promise to myself boundaries of if I'm going to be with someone, they have to be, part of my list is communicative and open to therapy and open to working through things. I'm all about let's be depressed, for a short-term situation, but this has kind of been going on about 6 months. I can't be stuck in this cycle 2 years later. It's not healthy for anybody. And to a point, again, a lot, because I get seasonally depressed and there's a week or two sometimes where I just don't want to talk to anybody and that's fine. Or I want to eat a bag, all of that is fine short term and giving people space and the emotions fluctuate. But when we start going into long term, I feel as though things need to be said or we need to really dig in deep and figure out what's wrong. But you have to be susceptible to it.
Yeah, he definitely has to either one, be open to helping himself, or you also have to be open to moving on because, are you married? You're not married, are you?
No.
Okay, so there's no long-term commitment there that, has to be upheld. It would be easier if, obviously getting actually divorced is a very big process. But you don't have to worry about that part of it. I'm not saying get rid of him, but I'm saying if he doesn't change, you have every right to move on from that situation because he's not upholding his end of what you guys agreed upon at the beginning, which was that you were both on this journey together, that you were going to both support each other in your health journeys. And what do you think of that? Have you even considered that?
Yeah, so like I said, I did promise myself because I am 32, I no longer want to waste time. I feel as though I wasted a lot of time when I was heavier saying no to experiences, saying no to dates, saying no to a lot of things. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I feel as though I only want to keep people around me that adds to my life. And I know life's going to be stressful. I'm not going to say my life's going to be perfect, but also people, around that will uplift. And we did agree, I did have conversations with my partner saying, hey, this is kind of like exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not saying my weight's not going to fluctuate 10 to 20 pounds throughout the rest of our lives, maybe even more or less, whatever that looks like. But it's really important to me that we are able to, that we give permission to be able to talk about, I've noticed, that we've kind of been falling off a little bit. Let's go on walks again. Let's do this stuff again, and let's get back on track, because I never want to be in a situation where I'm 100 pounds heavier again. That's not a life well lived personally for me.
Well, I love that you said I'm 32 and I don't want to waste any more time. And you didn't say I'm 32 and I don't want to throw this relationship away because I'm getting old, because that's not the case. Like, do not ever stick with someone because you feel like, you need a relationship to somehow make your life better. That's not the case. You can have a perfectly happy relationship by yourself and with yourself. And not be in an unhealthy relationship that's going to bring you down. And right now, it really sounds like for the last 6 months, this relationship has been weighing heavily on you and bringing you down. So you need to really think about whether you want to continue to support him. You can do that from a distance. You guys can, I don't know, do you live together?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. But his chips are next to your bed, on your bedside. So,
well, he stays the night a lot.
So he brings food into the house. So maybe you can create a boundary saying that, I want to continue spending time with you. I want you to get better, but please don't bring any food products into the house that are not approved by me, number one. Number two, before you come over, please take a shower and be ready for a date with me, because, I want to experience you at your best. And if he can't uphold those boundaries that you're setting, then, you need to consider what you want to do next as next steps.
I completely agree with everything you said. And I think it's just more of not wanting to hurt his feelings and, finally being connected to somebody and not scared of losing them, but just nervous that he's going through this and wanting to be supportive, but also knowing who I am and my boundaries, because some people might say, dang, that's cold-blooded. I'm like, no, it's just knowing what I want to get involved in and with. So I just have to decide for myself if I want to continue or not.
Yeah, I mean, we have this one life to live, right? And we want to make it the best that it can be. And we want to surround ourselves by people that are, gonna help uplift us. And, I think they say that you are like the culmination of the top 5 people that you spend time with, or the top 3 or something like that. And if he's one of those people that you're constantly spending time with and he's bringing you down, that's going to also bring you down too. So you need to keep that circle tight and strong. And so, yeah, I mean, there are people that stay in your life for a lifetime, and then there are people that come and go, and that's okay. And, I'm a firm believer in people having not just one soulmate, but the possibility for more than one. So although you've found a good relationship in this person, that doesn't mean to say that you can't find a good relationship in the future.
Nope, I agree. I'm like, girl, this was a good talk.
All right, let's go get something to eat, something healthy.
Let's go.
All right, and end scene. Awesome. That was fun. Oh, that was a good one. Okay. So I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can we find you?
I have branded myself really well, and everything is author Bria Rose. So that's .com, @Gmail, TikTok, Instagram. So author Bria Rose, and then wherever you can find me, Barnes & Noble, I'm on Amazon, Walmart.com. I'm a lot of places, but head to my website first, and they'll kind of take you everywhere else.
So authorbriarose.com.
Yes.
Okay, there it is right there. authorbriarose.com. And I think I spelt it correctly. So there you go. And I will make sure that I include all of her information in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to make sure that my listeners can also find me. I am on .online, not .com, please me .online, and you can find a wealth of information there. I have lots of affiliates and all sorts of things. So I'm not going to go into the details because there's a lot on my website, but check it out. And thank you so much again for speaking with me today. This was such a fun conversation.
Yes, it really was. Thank you so much for having me.
Until next time.
If you're feeling disconnected from your body, struggling with intimacy, or facing a sexual health condition, you're not alone. There is no shame in what you're experiencing, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reclaim your confidence, pleasure, and connection. That's why I offer a free 15-minute discovery call to explore what's going on and whether working together is the right next step. Spots fill quickly, so don't wait. The link is in the show notes. Grab your time now.
I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon. And if you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.